States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
And so, if they were going to use the blackmail file, they would just shut up about it and then say they were investigating and slow roll it. Instead, oh, we've got it. Oh, it's going to come out. Not just Bondi, all of them. That's loading the gun, putting the deep state's head, saying, we'll do it. We'll do it. We've sent it to the FBI offices around the country. We'll do it. And then they come back and say, fine, we'll stop our attacks on you. We'll roll over. We'll get out of the way of your project to relaunch America and all the great things you're doing. But you got to come out and say it's closed and it's over so that you're tied to it so that you can't ever stab us in the back. And then this is what you get. That's how this stuff works. And that's what I believe has gone on. And I wasn't sure of it yesterday, though my gut was. And now I know it. And it makes me feel sick. Because we need Trump to succeed. He's not a pedophile, from everything I know, and also my gut. And I operate off the Holy Spirit as well. And literally, I prayed about it 9+ years ago. God said, no, support Trump. And you've seen all the evil come against me and my operation because of that. And now you see the good fruits of what Trump's doing on so many fronts. And they're massively cutting off the human trafficking, the sex slavery. So they've cut that spigot off that we know Mayorkas and the Democrats were running, and we know they're pedos. I mean, we know it's in the WikiLeaks. And so I'm having to balance all of this in my mind, but I cannot sit here and watch Trump, when he's having so much success, metaphorically, put a shotgun to his foot and blow it off.
Creep. We're talking about Epstein. I don't like this, and let me tell you why I don't like it, Steve. Suddenly, the enemies of Donald Trump are silent. Why aren't Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and those guys, why aren't they saying anything about it? Why aren't they publicly posting anything on X? They're not doing anything. And suddenly, Trump is not, they're not trying to kill him.
They should be coming at him from the aspect, look, he's trying to sweep it under the rug. What has he got to hide? And they're not.
They should be. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, after Elon Musk posted the thing about Trump being on the list, the Harry Sissons and the Krasensteins, the Democrats were suddenly saying, release the list. We literally had Democrats begging for the list. And now nothing? And they're not trying to kill the man anymore. That concerns me because it tells me there's something going on that Donald Trump is no longer a threat to them. You're either here for the truth or you're not. I'm not here to blow smoke up your blouse. I'm not here to do that. I'm gonna tell you the truth. If your enemies are suddenly agreeing with you, there ought to be a pause and say why. If I'm no longer going against the flow, if I'm not catching friction, then that means I've embraced the status quo, and it could be that the swamp finally got me. I hope that's not true.
Today, and I'm upset because I'm so angry because I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of the lies out of Kerrville, Texas. I'm sick out of the lies out of Austin, Texas, and I'm absolutely sick of the lies out of the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office. Sick of this. You looked at us. You looked at us. And you lied right to our faces. And you said, there's going to be more coming. Where is it? Where is it? Where's the unsealed documents? Where are the case files? Where are the flight logs? Where are the transcripts? Put it all out. And they said, oh, we can't show you because it's the victims. It's the victims. It's the victims. And they're doing the same thing down there in Kerrville. They say, oh, well, we can't ask any of those questions about the victims. Excuse me? Excuse me? No. It's time to take accountability. It's time to show leadership. And leadership is not scolding people for asking questions when in one case, right, down there in Kerrville, where you've got, 40 young girls who are dead, and I don't even know how many more total, over 100. Then up in Jeffrey Epstein, which spanned all around the world, you've got potentially hundreds more young girls. You understand? This is what's going on here. These are the young girls of our country. These girls, these children. And in both cases, they were let down. And in both cases, You got people in power that are trying to pass the buck, that are trying to pass the heat, that are trying to play the blame game. Will someone take responsibility? Because that's what I thought MAGA was about. That's certainly what I thought Texas was about. And I'm not seeing a lot of that right now. I'm not. I'm seeing a lot of people want to play games, want to pass the buck. No, we're not going to do that around here. We're going to demand answers. We're going to demand accountability. And if you knew something before this flood took place, Mr. Mayor, anything at all, then you need to be honest. And if you can't be honest, you got to go. You got to go. You should resign yourself before you get placed under investigation.
Demand and unseal the sealed evidence in Epstein. It starts there. Then bundle everything together. You got sealed and unsealed, and release it all. Or, which I've called for yesterday, appoint a special he should appoint a special prosecutor, special counsel now for the 2020 election and everything after that, and include Russiagate and all this. You have to do that. That should be done immediately, and that should report to the President of the United States. And also, they should do one if DOJ can't move off the dime and the FBI can't move off the dime, there should be a special counsel to go through everything and release it all. It seems to me like a binary function, right?
All of these people work for Trump, okay? So if they're covering up for somebody, who do you think they might be covering up for?
So you think they're covering up for President Trump?
People look at all of us. Everybody is looking at little pieces of this and coming up with kind of theories. But people really take the time, because there's a lot of facts, there's a lot of information. People who take the time and really investigate this thoroughly all come to the pretty much conclusion that maybe Trump was behind this.
Wow. Well,
Maybe Jeff was killed to quiet him.
You think President Trump has something to do with Epstein, with your brother being killed?
I wouldn't write that off. Because if you look at all of the evidence we have and all of the facts, not opinions, and all of the facts, that wouldn't be something I would dismiss.
I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to say, but there is zero evidence that Donald Trump had anything to do with your brother's death.
Well, somebody did.
Welcome to Truth with JJ Carroll. Another montage. We're going into Friday, going into the weekend. This has been burning hot. This Epstein has been burning hot all week. And I told you, when this first came out Sunday night into Monday, I thought, okay, I see what they're doing. They're going to let this burn, and it's going to burn fast, and then it's just going to go away. 12 to 24 hours later, I'm sitting in my desk, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm like, this is not going away. I misjudged this. This is going to burn hot forever until someone does something, because no one buys it. And again, I want to make sure that my audience understands. Do I hate Jeffrey Epstein? Absolutely. I know I'm not supposed to hate anybody, but I do. I hate pedophiles. I hate that man. I hope he's burning in hell right now. And I want everybody that's associated with that to also have to meet justice. However, the reason why MAGA and myself, who I am MAGA, are so white hot mad about this is not because of Epstein. It's because Epstein is the front man to everything that we hate as MAGA. We hate the elites. We hate the fact that we have been propagandized, lied to. We hate the fact that there's 2, 3, 4 levels of justice. We hate the fact that they've destroyed our country. We hate the fact they open the borders and allow people to come in. We hate the fact that they trafficked over 500,000 to 1 million children into America disappear. We hate the fact that there's no justice. No, there's no lady justice with a blindfold holding scales trying to make sure that it's balanced correctly. No, that's a much a fallacy as the woman standing in New York City called the Statue of Liberty, that people go to and say, well, that's the Constitution. The French gave it to us. We're supposed to take the huddle masses, the poor. No, we're not. That's what the disgusting very, very effeminate French told us that we have to do. So we have the fraud of the Statue of Liberty, which is an absolute, I don't care what anyone says, it's a boondoggle fraud. It's a piece of propaganda. And then we have the lady with the blindfold. And if you know anything about justice, and if you talk to anybody or have friends that are police officers, family that's in law enforcement, and if they tell you there's justice, there's two things going to happen. That person is part of the illegal justice, or they're so grossly incompetent that they just collect paychecks. No true law enforcement officer will tell you that there's a justice system that is true and just and fair. Nope, doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. And that's why we're so mad about Jeffrey Epstein. And Donald Trump, I have no idea how he's being, or who is telling him that it's not a big deal. Look, I understand you got the most powerful man in the world, doesn't have an iPhone, doesn't have really access to a computer. He's getting information. Like you and I, if we get information, meaning it gets in our algorithm and you have to figure a way to get out of it. But we have certain places we go and people we talk to get a good feel. Donald Trump is getting bombarded with information. He's trusting the people around him. There was a post just yesterday of Donald Trump talking about a picture of him and Lindsey Graham and talking about how great Lindsey Graham is. Lindsey Graham, and you ask who is giving him the idea on amnesty? Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham and people like him are pushing amnesty nonstop. Because how do I know that? Because he's been pushing amnesty for over 2 decades. Who's telling him Epstein's not a big deal? You heard my first clip is Alex Jones. And before anybody goes, oh, Alex Jones, he's a, quote, right winger and he's a conspiracy theorist. Well, if you go back and listen to Alex Jones pretty much tells you exactly what's happening, and it does happen. You may not like the way he does it, his bombastic way. I don't mind it. I cut all through that, and there's the truth. And he's saying he's sick. He's sick to his stomach because he knows the elites, the powerful, the intel deep state got to Trump. I can't dismiss that. I haven't dismissed that. It's unbelievable. What's going to happen to America? We have been at a breaking point for a very long time. What is going to drive this? What is going to drive us over the cliff? And the one thing that's going to happen, or what the genesis, or the thing that's going to be that last push, is consistent lies from the White House. Now, let me give you a very strong one. So Sunday night, Axios, who hates the president, who's left wing, comes out and says this is a DOJ memo. And the memo says that we looked at all the evidence and the evidence shows that there's nothing to look at. Tom Fenton of Judicial Watch yesterday, through a FOIA, gets the information that no, they have not looked at all the evidence. In fact, they're still going through the evidence right now. Wait a minute. 5 days ago, 6 days ago, you sent out a memo saying you've looked at all the evidence and there's nothing to see here. And Jeffrey Epstein was like Mother Teresa. Now, on Thursday evening into Friday, we get Tom Fenton pushes out, no, the DOJ has openly admitted, and the FBI has openly admitted they have not gone through all the evidence. Who are we supposed to believe here? I want to talk about, before we have the next guest from Pet Club 24/7, Kurt and Kristen, I want you to please please support our sponsors. And one of the sponsors is Shop Bella Grace, shopbellagrace.com. Logan, I don't know if you have a commercial of Abby or Dr. Lucky. Either one's fine. If you could put it up and support bellagrace.com by going to shopbellagrace.com/truth, and you play this video, please. Commercial.
As a practitioner with a very large practice, at the very end of the day, I tended to be a little bit worn out. I wasn't covering from taking care of patients. In January, before we pre-launched the company, I was one of the very first people to get the 15-day samples. And right away, I was connected to the Bella Grace Collagen Elixir. Just an overall feeling of wellness, but also a little more energy. I recovered in my workouts, sleeping just more soundly, and then waking up the next day ready to take it on. For me, it was the power of three: the cat's claw, the astaxanthin, and of course, the best, most studied Verisol collagen on the market today.
Before I have Kurt and Kristen from Pet Club 24/7 come on, hell, what do you believe anymore? Honestly, this has been a wild, wild week. Wild week. So I'm looking through my emails, and I'm looking through all of my information on my videos. What am I going to talk about today? And I literally have endless stuff. It's as if I can't keep up. You can't keep up with Trump and what he's doing or not doing or misstepping. Think about what we've learned today or this week, just in 5 days, okay? Just in 5 days. We learned that Jeffrey Epstein was just running a daycare and everyone was happy. Nothing to see here. We learned that Donald Trump and his associates are pushing mass amnesty, talking about it in the halls of the White House. We learned that, it's not a conspiracy theory that they're doing weather modification. And we found out the weather modification happened 2 days prior to Kerrville, Texas, going underwater and murdering, let's just be honest, murdering 40 people, 20 plus little girls. North Carolina is absolutely flooded, destroyed. We learned that chemtrails are real. That's just on the top of my head. In a couple days, guys. That's what we've learned is factually true. And so I don't think what I'm saying that this is the age of awakening. I don't think that's. I think that's a gross understatement. So I'm going to bring Kurt and Kristen in, but I'm going to show a video before they come in. Well, I'll just bring them in because I like to talk to them and give me some hope when I'm very down and don't think that there's much hope left. So Kurt and Kristen, come on in from Pet Club 24/7. How you guys been doing?
We're doing great, JJ. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you on here because everything that we have talked about it's coming true, right? So people like us have been talking about, and you much more longer in terms of health, food. It's funny that everything that I've been saying about immigration and lawlessness and everything that you say about the food and the poisons and the vaccines, I don't think that you and we share happiness or joy that we've been proven right. But professionally, do you feel some validation of you're not crazy anymore? You are actually ahead of the mainstream on this. Do you find, are you professionally validated now over time?
Absolutely. I feel like anyone that's led with conviction when they feel called to something at a time when they have a vision that God gives them that maybe other people don't see at the moment, there is a validation when those convictions are confirmed and you realize that the fight that you've been fighting and the good that you've been doing and the education that you've not only been getting, but giving to others, it meant something that entire time, and it's prepared us for now, is incredibly validating and also encouraging, because God was making a way beforehand. He was telling people, he was letting people, he was lifting the veil and allowing people to see what was going on before we even got to this point, so we could be prepared for this point to do something different.
I feel the same way. I feel when I look at what I've said and I'm watching people of position of authority under congressional testimony, under oath, saying exactly what I have been saying for decades, but mainly in the last couple of years, saying, yes, this is happening. And then to look around and to realize, okay, there is some hope. If I just keep grinding, the message will come out. But in the moment, it is frustrating. Kurt, did you feel that way when you began this journey? Did you feel like, is anybody listening? And did you ever have a moment where you were like, am I the crazy one? Like, am I off? Is everyone else normal and I'm that weird guy in the Twilight Zone that does not know that I'm the weird guy? I feel that sometimes. Have you ever felt that?
so often, JJ. It's amazing you bring it up because over for 15 years now, and definitely 10 to 15 years ago, many of my friends, family, considered me a conspiracy theorist. And, I would kid around even at that time. Chris and I would be like, we're going to be sneezing tomorrow. We're going to be feeling different. We're going to be groggy when we wake up. And because we would see a lot of chemtrails, living here in Las Vegas. And sure enough, that would happen. And our friends and family would notice it. And they started waking up to what was, going on as a result of it. And, it felt good to finally get out of that, I'm the, Kurt Kristen or the family conspiracy theorists. And they started opening up to a lot of the things that are going on. And it's really interesting the way that our weather is so much different here. And we see it. We see when it's just loaded, the skies are loaded with the chemtrails. We see just a windy day that wasn't even reported to be windy, and it's windier than ever. And just different things that occur. It's just, there's no question, things are going on. And I saw a short that was amazing. And this lady, and maybe you saw it, and I tried to find it and I couldn't find it again, but she was one of the head people at the FAA that said, listen, in the beginning, I did not believe in the chemtrails. I didn't believe they were there. I was totally against it. And I'm coming out now to say, hey, they're actually real. This is something that's going on.
Well, it was crazy to look in the sky and see perfectly square and rectangle clouds and say, what is that? And have people go, shut up. You're a conspiracy theory. You're a nut job. And you're like, wait a minute. That's perfectly square cloud. What? And they're like, no, don't look at it. Don't look. The sky is blue. And you're like, I don't know. What is real anymore? It is insane and people say, well, how does this go into Pet Club 24/7? How does this, well, all of it does. It's how do we get our food? Do you think, and people, I swear to you, people think that food just pops up magically in the grocery store. Like it's there, right? Like it didn't come from the ground. They're like, what do you mean it comes from the ground? Yes, everything comes from the ground. That's where we're getting our food. That's the cows and chickens, and they're eating the grass. It's all coming up. So we're all being poisoned. So I want to show a video. It's 2 hours. This insanity feels like 2 hours sometimes, but this is 2-minute video, and it's a testimony from weather modification on the House floor of Miami, HB 477, and it won unanimously 17-0. But remember, think about what we were just talking about, the conspiracy theory that me, you, the three of us, and all the people that look up at the sky and say, this is insanity, chemtrails, you're a liar, you're a nut job. this is now becoming, and it's interesting. After this, I would like to get your take that now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, there's chemtrails. Let's move on, right? No, and I don't know how you feel. I want to pause and I want to say, I need an apology. I need you to acknowledge that you've been wrong and lying to me for decades, and I have been true for decades. So please watch this and just I want my audience to understand this is just recently that this happened. But if you go back just a week, we were told we're mentally ill, that we need lithium because we're mental patients on the conspiracy side of chemtrails. No, this is factually true now. And everyone just now assumes, well, that's fine, but it's not fine. Let's watch this, Logan. Please play it.
I'm not here to make you believe chemtrails exist, which are scientifically proven that they exist. I'm not here to make you believe that chemtrails are real. I think the individual who actually owns the industry that says he cloud seeds kind of indicated that those things are real, not necessarily things that he does. And I'm not here to make you believe or make you find it truthful that cloud seeding exists, even though the guy who gets paid to do that does it. I'm here to tell you that I'm against heavy metals being sprayed over our state on every level. It doesn't matter how it's done, whether it's through aerosol spray, through organizations that are hired to do this. I think those heavy metals we know scientifically cause major health issues for every single human being that exists on planet Earth. It causes you to inhale it if it's done. It causes you to absorb it in your skin if it's done, and it causes you to ingest it when you eat your food or eat your crops that are being delivered to the stores that we buy all that stuff from. So my argument today would be, that we look at it from that perspective, not from the idea that I'm wearing a tin hat and I'm up here to debate something that isn't real or is real. It's the fact that they can do that, whoever they is. I listed out several companies that are actually listed in there that do some of those aerosol sprays. And they shouldn't be allowed to do that in our state of Florida. I want to protect and preserve what we have, the waterways. That's why I ran a bill last year to protect the waters that we have shedding off of farmland and land in the state. And I think that we continue to see things like this. And I'm not talking about the visible lines in the sky. I'm talking about the actual effects of acid rain and things that we all know happen that are scientifically proven. So I want to ask you to support this, but I'm going to end it with what Lyndon Johnson started, which is, and he who controls the weather controls the world. So if you think about that, Lyndon Johnson, who's we're probably going to find out more information about on some activities that he was involved in while he was alive and sitting as the president of the United States, replacing John F. Kennedy. So with that, I ask that you support my bill.
Thank you. Closing on HB 477. Faith, please call the roll.
Representatives Anderson?
Yes.
There's a lot in there. This is about the third or fourth time I watched that, and I have so many other questions and comments. But what is your takeaway watching that?
Well, I do like that something's being done about this. And Kurt had said, when we see them, we expect to feel a certain way. And this has been happening for years. But this is more than a placebo thing. Like, this is measurable. There are lab tests in Montana and Ohio and California that show trillions of aluminum nanoparticles per liter in snow samples. Rainwater's testing 1,200% above aluminum limits. Midwest farmers are reporting dying crops and toxic soil. Hospitals are seeing neurological spikes in children. There's chronic fatigue, memory loss, respiratory failure. That's all unexplained. Immune failure, multi-organ collapse. So this is not something that we're just imagining happening. We're seeing the results of it. And we know that barium creates breathing failure and cardiac dysfunction. We know that aluminum is neurodegenerative and in some cases can cause autism. There are studies coming out about that. We know that, bless you. Oh. We know that strontium causes immune suppression and DNA damage. And so if these are the elements that they're using to, control the climate or do the cloud seeding, it's no wonder that our soil and our foods and our rain and the water and the air that we're breathing is full of these chemicals, and it's causing all these issues in people. And this is why we have to do something. I'm so grateful that Florida is standing up and saying that this is eco-terrorism. I'm so grateful that Tennessee has banned geoengineering and Texas is issuing cease and desist orders against NASA and the NOAA. I'm so grateful that people like that are standing up and standing in the gap for us and doing something about it, because it's a huge, huge problem that's detrimental for our safety and well-being and our health of not only ourselves, but especially our children.
Well, let me ask you this. As I'm watching this, there's so many questions keep popping up in my head. But the biggest question that's rarely ever asked, because no one really has an answer. But I want to ask you, Kurt, and I'm putting you on the spot. And if you don't know, you don't know. But what is you've been in this business for a while. Tell me the why. Why would our government allow companies, organizations, nonprofits, whatever it is, to poison us and poison us through our skies? Why are they doing this?
Well, my opinion is there's a lot of money behind it. And if we can if people are sick and ill, then there's a lot of monies that are being spent on purchasing things to help them feel better. And, when that side of what's going on is happening and there's so much money going on, why not? Why not, do anything that can be done to put people in a position of not feeling well, having issues, having things that need to be medicated. And it's a terrible cyclical thing that's happening here. And on top of it all, as we know, if we can keep people from feeling well, then people don't advance, they don't stand up, they don't, they don't fight back. When you're not feeling well, you want to stay contained in a small area, and there, so I feel there's many reasons behind it. I'm sorry, yeah. And here's the thing: is that this is why we do what we do. We have an incredible mushroom that we run. We have 3 COAs on it, so that people can be rest assured there's nothing bad in it. That it is what we say it is. It's pure organic. We have a proprietary way to extract it. And what it's been found to do, and there are over 300 clinical studies and trials from major institutions that have studied this, and it helps get that immune system running optimally again. And we do it for humans and animals because we're all being affected by things. And it's one of the, without question, no one can refute. Get this in your body, get your immune system working optimally again, so that you can feel good again, that you can combat the things that are hitting our system, the things we're breathing, we're drinking, we're stepping on, we're eating. All these things are affecting our immune system, which in turn, a God-given thing that is there to keep us healthy, is a very thing that gets compromised and starts causing the issues to occur.
Well, you have a great product at Pet Club 24/7, and I know I joke because, and I don't think Alpha Warrior will take this as an insult because he's a former law enforcement officer like me. We're 2 knuckleheads, and he takes the blue bottle and I take the green bottle, right? So the blue bottle for him gives him mental clarity, and the green bottle for me gives my immune system a fighting shot. So I love the product at Pet Club 24/7, and I want to show one more video because it really drives home. Like if somebody just tuned in and listened to you two of the owner of Pet Club 24/7, and you're saying our skies are poisoned, thus the rain, and then what in the air, and all the molecules come to the earth, and then our animals eat it, our food gets raised through it, and it's poisonous, and people go, oh, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy talk. Then explain to me, and this is just one video of thousands out there, explain to me why the rainwater looks like a blueberry Kool-Aid drink in this next video. Can you play it for us, Logan?
Got a motherfucking lake right here. How much would it take for you to drink that water? How much money?
That was from Texas. That was the Texas flood in Kerrville. When you see that, I mean, I'm sure it infuriates you, but on some way it has to validate you when someone says, oh, you're crazy, and you go, well, I got literally a 3-second video. which I could have played for hours more. But 3 seconds, explain it to me. Explain to me, and then I won't even get you a cup. I'll get you a little like teaspoon, and I just want you to sip it. Go ahead. I'll give you $1,000. No. It looks like radiator fluid. Honestly, what in the hell did we just see?
No idea. I know that, like you said, there are thousands of videos of people recording that happening and collecting the water, and it happened more. Not only in Texas, I think it happened in California. It happened in a couple of other states as well.
And a couple other countries, in major metropolitan areas. Yeah,
it's bizarre. All these unnatural storms. Smells and effects and everything that we're seeing, it's just bizarre. How can you not see what's happening or what's going on at this point?
I think the biggest accomplishment, the people that hate human beings and want to create a new world, the one thing that they do is brilliant, is they hide everything in plain sight. And the moment you stop and go, well, that's weird, they just push you on and make you go to something else. It's like the guy, I'm sure you've seen the videos of the guy with the very bad haircut, mullet haircut, that is young, highly intelligent. He does the Rainmaker. It's really called the Rainmaker. And he does the seeding, the cloud seeding. They cloud seeded over Kerrville, Texas, 2 days prior to the massive flooding. And he sits there and says, well, no, that would have dissipated by then. What? Holy cow. We just did a massive flood that killed 20 plus little girls. Like, not only the 20 plus adults that died and the ramifications of that death, but sweet little girls got swept away and drowned in muddy water. Gone. We can't even find their bodies because we're cloud seeding. Who okayed this? Who thought that this is normal and that the actual water that will fall will be like God's natural water? We just saw a video where it looks like blue Kool-Aid or antifreeze that you put in your car in the winter. This is crazy. Last word from you two. What should we do to combat this? I mean, your product, Pet Club 24/7, is one way, but what's another way? Is it just reaching out and hitting the politicians up, or is it running for office, or is it just simply talking about it? Like, just have an honest discussion with your neighbors and not be afraid to be called a conspiracy theory, or is it all of the above? What do you guys think?
Yeah, it is all of the above. It's being aware of it, continuing to, get more information and just notice things and observe things and record and report. I think that's really important, and something that everybody thinks somebody else is going to do. When you see something strange, when you see things in the sky that are unnatural or on the ground or coming down, record it and report it. Speak to the authorities, go to your politicians, let them know that this is an issue. And the more of us that do that, the louder we get, then they have to take it more seriously. And also some things that we can just do for ourselves, like you said, is drink fresh spring water, get sunlight as much as you can. Oxygenate your body, do breathing exercises, get grounding, get your immune system supported, eat foods like this Corylus versicolor mushroom that we have for pets and people, things that will keep our immune system strong, because they're not stopping, obviously. It's getting more and more bizarre and dramatic as time goes on. And so we have to be prepared, and we have to be ready for whatever's thrown at us, and keeping our bodies strong and healthy the way that God planned it. This whole issue is being caused by people that are playing God. That's why we have a problem. I want to control the weather. I want to control the food. I want to make foods in labs. No, there's already a natural order. It's already established, and we need to return back to that natural order. And these people have something coming for them. It's going to be not good for them in the end.
And JJ,
I agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kurt. Yeah.
I was just going to say one quick thing, and that is, go spend time in an area for a week. that there's no chemtrails, there's no planes flying over, and see how good you feel after that week. We do that every year, and it's amazing how great we feel. And that alone tells us a lot.
We just live in the most bizarre, unreal times. But Chris and I would like to end with this is you're absolutely right. When you begin to understand, or when you look through the lens and it gives you the perspective of this is a good versus evil, this is people that do not believe in God, and they have to create a God, if you will, which is them, in order to get through life, which I can't even imagine believing that I am the only thing that matters in the world and that I was created through a mud puddle. It's shocking to me, but I do believe this goes way deeper, guys, than just chemtrails, spraying the water, Epstein, open borders, poison our food. This is a spiritual war that we are now fighting in America. So I appreciate your guys' time. I love your product. I like the green bottle, and my other caveman brother loves the blue bottle. So we'll just stay on there, and we'll keep pushing the blue and green bottle for sure. But guys, thank you so much. I hope you have a great weekend. You two are my favorite. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, JJ.
All right. That's Kurt and Kristen for Pet Club 24/7. They're great. They give me some hope, right? Hope in marriage, hope in godly things. Always have a smile on their face, always are optimistic, and I need some of that throughout my week for sure. Go to Truth with JJ Carroll, 247.com, petclub247.com. Think about just stop for a second and think about what Kurt and Kristen and I talked about. We were talking about companies and governments seeding our skies, pushing metals into our skies. Think about, let's go back. I always like to do this. Let's take a time machine back 10 years, 2015. Think about what the world was like. Cell phones were the iPhone was getting good, but it was still clunky, and the world was kind of changing. Donald Trump was coming in to run for office in a year, and we were going through the malaise of Obama. And if I told you, hey, they're chemtrail in our skies. You see those jets are chemtrailing. They're seeding the rain clouds. You would literally look at me and think I'm a nut job. How do I know that you would look at me that way? Because I looked at people that way. I'm going to be very honest. When people said it to me, I was like, man, that guy is crazy. Like, I can't believe he has a gun and a badge. He's crazy. Like, he's crazy. No, he was ahead of his time. And people like that saw things differently than I did, and they were correct and I was wrong because it was so absurd. It was so absurd, you couldn't believe it. I have my next guest is ready to come on, but I just want to take, this is a 2-minute video, and I want you to drive home this point of how the insane, how the absolute Twilight Zone crazy is now being talked about as the truth. Like 10 years ago, I'm crazy. A week ago, we were crazy. This week, well, this is mainstream, of course. Don't you know we're chemtrailing? I'm looking at my left screen, and the video that's going to come up is Lee Zeldin. Okay, EPA, head of EPA, and a couple other things. I like this guy. I trust this guy, and I'm going to be honest with you. Whenever I have those feelings, my immediate response in my brain, as fast as those thoughts come into my head, immediately I go, don't trust him, because I have been let down so many times. Look, I'm not asking for Lee Zeldin to change the world. I just want Lee Zeldin to do the right thing. Just like Dan Bongino. Huge expectations on Dan Bongino. But ultimately, I just want Dan Bongino to do the right thing. I want Cash Patel to do the right thing. I want Pam Bondi to do the right thing. I don't know if they are. But I want you to listen to Lee Zeldin talk about the fact that chemtrails and seeding are true, and he's going to do investigations to try to verify it. Or at least he's saying, I think they're true. We live in the weirdest time in the world. Play this video for us before we go to our next guest, please, Logan.
Concerned Americans have urgent and important questions about geoengineering and contrails. The American public deserves and expects honesty and transparency from their government when seeking answers. But for years, people who asked questions in good faith were dismissed, even vilified by the media and their own government. That era is over. The Trump EPA is committed to total transparency. As a result, I tasked my team at EPA to compile a list of everything we know about contrails and geoengineering for the purpose of releasing it to you now publicly. In other words, I want you to know everything I know about these topics and without any exception. Instead of simply dismissing these questions and concerns as baseless conspiracies, we're meeting them head on. We did the legwork, looked at the science, consulted agency experts, and pulled in relevant outside information to put these online resources together. Everything we know about contrails to solar geoengineering will be in there. That means anyone who reads through this information will know as much about these topics as I do as EPA administrator. To anyone who's ever looked up to the streaks in the sky and asked, what the heck is going on? Or seen headlines about private actors and even governments looking to blot out the sun in the name of stopping global warming? We've endeavored to answer all of your questions at the links on your screen. In fact, EPA shares many of the same concerns when it comes to potential threats to human health and the environment, especially from solar geoengineering activities. The enthusiasm for experiments that would pump pollutants into the high atmosphere has set off alarm bells here at the Trump EPA. Prior to now, EPA has never been this proactive to raise awareness about concerns with geoengineering and to stop this activity from being scaled up. This is what it looks like when government actually listens to the will of the people and doesn't try to squash it. You can always trust this administration and this EPA to take your concerns seriously, answer your questions honestly, and carry out the will of voters with integrity.
It's a long video, but I want to play it because it really shows you how far we have come from the time of insanity to now it's normal. This is actually normalized. Holy mother of God. I'm going to dovetail just all this conversation with Kurt and Kristen, and then I'm going to dovetail it right into the conversation with Chris from SAT123, because this is about being prepared. Everything is about being prepared and being ready. Chris, how you doing this week? Doing good. Is this not a bizarre time in American history, or more so a bizarre week? If you've been following everything that has been happening, do you agree with that? This is crazy time?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. And JJ, look, we know over the decades that, secret and private government operations have caused all kinds of chaos, but they were just, when information about them got out, people were dismissed as, as insane, crazy, as conspiracy theorists. But we found out today that a lot of this stuff that the government was doing was true. So look, I mean, I'm certainly open to hearing what the EPA has to say, and I'm very interested to find out what their results are. But JJ, I think one of the lessons, like you said, is that we have to be prepared no matter what. And looking at what happened in Texas, these devastating floods, one thing that we've learned is that from the very beginning, the initial rescue efforts were hampered because of a complete lack of the ability to communicate between the emergency responders and the first responders. And that's because the cell towers were washed away, the fiber lines, the hard data fiber lines were washed away, and so the cell phones were useless. And apparently these guys did not have SATCOM, JJ, which, as you and I know, every citizen should have, and especially the first responders. So my question is, why didn't they have the communications that they would need for this?
Well, let's look. I have 3 quick videos. I'm going to play them all back to back. And this is Texas and North Carolina. This was Texas 2 days after they seeded the skies. And now they're saying, well, it's not connected. What? What are you talking about? But this is 3 videos back to back to back to show you the devastation and how you need to be prepared. It was talking about exactly what Chris was saying, the devastation. Can you play these 3 clips back to back, Logan, please? Hold on. That's the wrong one, Logan. Yeah, Logan was playing, which is also another problem, was the Islamization of America through Dearborn, Michigan. But this is, I want to show you these 3 videos of the actual water destruction that happened in Texas and North Carolina. Chris, we have been talking about this week after week after week, and this is not fear mongering. This is not blackpilling. It's either God-made, man-made. If you want to have that argument, it doesn't really matter. Wars, the attacks on our infrastructure. It's not if this is going to happen, Chris. It is when it's going to happen and what type of catastrophe. And this is why it's so important to be prepared. And just talk to me and my audience about a sat phone, the importance of a sat phone. And before you do, I just want to make, this was interesting. I watched this last night. My son and I were like scrolling through Netflix and we were like, what do you want to watch? And there's a 1 hour documentary called The Poop Cruise. And this was about the Carnival Cruise Line that went out in 2013 for like 7 days. No electricity, no cell towers, no nothing. And the only way they could communicate was one man on the bridge deck had a sat phone. That was their only communication, was the sat phone, Chris, to the mainland. They had no other way of communicating. All the 4,000 cruise passengers could not use their cell phones, could not get internet, couldn't get anything. It was just a simple sat phone. And I thought about you, and I thought about today's show and said, you should, anyone that does not have this, literally don't have to use it, Chris, could just put it in your glove box in your car or have it in your office at home, just in case. If I had to choose one thing that your company creates and sells, would it be the sat phone, or am I off?
No, JJ, look, at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. You know, having internet is great, and we provide the Starlink internet units, of course. You know, having a bulletproof backpack could save your life in a classroom, but if you had to have one product, the sat phone is absolutely it. And it's interesting you talk about that cruise, JJ, where one guy with one sat phone, you know, was the only one able to provide communications. It was the same thing in the Maui fires, where you had one guy at one of the big hotel resorts who was prepared. He had a sat phone, and because of that was able to communicate with the other islands and the emergency services and redirect thousands of people from driving into the fire zone. One guy, you know. So look, I think one of the big lessons we take away from all of this and from the devastation in Kerr, Texas, is that, you know, you cannot rely on anyone else, even first responders, having the right equipment. You know, a lot of the rescues and the heroes from Kerr, Texas were individuals who just got down and dirty and started doing what needed to be done. You know, so we as citizens need to be individually prepared. And the number one way to do that is to have the ability to communicate when nobody else can. You know, one person with one phone can save hundreds of thousands of lives, as we've just talked about. So look, at sat123.com, we are the only ones who have a satellite phone for free with activation. You're getting a brand new iSat phone 2 that'll let you communicate no matter what's going on. Had anyone had one of these in Kerr, Texas, they'd have been able to be communicating from the get-go. The cell towers are washed away, the fiber lines are down, doesn't matter. Sat phones don't rely on anything based on the ground. They communicate directly with the satellites up in the sky. So at sat123.com, you can get a free sat phone with activation. You're paying just $85 a month, JJ. And right now, we're also giving in a free Faraday bag for your sat phone. But yes, the number one thing, if you can have one piece of equipment, it's got to be the sat phone. You're absolutely right.
We have to be prepared, Chris. We're just, if you think about this, like before you came on, I said, let's think about what's happened in a week, what we've talked about. We talked about Jeffrey Epstein ran a daycare and no one was hurt and everything's fine. We learned, and then prior to that, of those 5 days, we had bombing of Iran and going to war. Now we're hearing that there are massive terror cells being activated right now in America. We had flood in Texas killing 40 people plus, at least 20 of them little girls at a camp. North Carolina being absolutely devastated with floods. They feel as if that cloud seeding storm system, man-made, actually made its way up from Texas to North Carolina, or somebody seeded clouds there as well. It's just one thing after another, Chris, and I want our audience to not be black-pilled, but be prepared. And I believe that is the key to everything. Last word on being prepared, Chris. How important is it just to be ready? Wouldn't you rather be ready and then be ready and never have to use it, or have to use it and not be ready?
Yeah, 100%, JJ. Look, when your house catches fire, that's not the time when you can run out and buy a fire extinguisher, right? You don't wait for that. You get one, you put it around, and you hope it never happens. But if it does, you have some way to fight back. Same exact thing with a sat phone. As soon as these floods hit, it's too late. If you don't have a phone, it's too late. And again, if you're going to rely on first responders, emergency services, that didn't help because they didn't have the right equipment. So it is up to us as individuals to take on the responsibility for ourselves, for our family, for our community. If one person in that community had the right equipment, I don't know, would have made a difference. It wouldn't have hurt, So look, we all need to be prepared. And JJ, you're absolutely right. The sat phone is the way to go. Sat123.com. You can get a free sat phone with activation, or call 941-841-0844. That's 941-841-0844. But JJ, I can't even imagine what we'll be talking about next Friday. I wouldn't even like to guess at this point, mate.
Oh my God. Dude, I know. We can't guess. We live in the twilight zone, Chris, for sure. All right, my friend. I look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great week and get out there and get some sun. Enjoy the Colorado heat for this week. All right, brother. Thank you very much. All right. Chris from Sat123, go to sat123.com/JJ. He's right. Your house is on fire. That's not when you run to Home Depot or Walmart or order on Amazon for a fire extinguisher. Same thing with a sat phone. Just be prepared. This is the end of a week that maybe has been the most insane week for news that I have been around for maybe my life. This is crazy time. what's going to happen. What I do know is that we are in the middle of a war for the soul of America. That's not blackpilling. That's just simply the truth. Have a great weekend. Be with your family. Say some prayers and prepare. Prepare to fight.
Welcome to Technocracy News with your host, Patrick Wood. I'm your co-host, Logan House. Today we have multiple stories, the first one being unibabies, lab-grown sperm and eggs just 7 years away. I believe we've talked about this in the past, but it hasn't come back up in a while. What if AI isn't intelligence, but anti-intelligence? New mind-reading AI predicts what humans do next. And then we have two articles from Patrick that go back 20 years. The Global Elite, Who Are They? And the Trilateral Commission of Usurping Sovereignty. How are you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing really good.
This first story, I remember, didn't we play a video or something about this a while back?
It was a long time ago, actually. Well, in our years. But this is a new development at this point. And so they figured out how they can extract a skin cell